Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
In this real side experience, I would find myself as part of a crew manning a large spacecraft that was operating in a geostationary orbit. I would be in my standard human Kevin form, and all others are featuring those of the crew equally just as human. Impressions would reveal that these other individuals had not formulated their intent with the recognition of the all is a true reality, as is the real purpose and indeed a point of everything creational, as a comparative mechanism by which the true reality can be recognized, but were those immersed within their personal self-consciousnesses with no inclination or desire to be anything other than absorbed into and operating as their programmed creation. The ship itself was highly advanced, far beyond and in excess of anything publicly available or featuring in the human domain, including what passes as the most advanced space-based technologies as utilized by the various global space agencies, the rockets, stations, and so forth. Of course, that would be only the surface front of cutting-edge technologies. Behind the scenes and far from a public scrutiny will be far more advanced, space-orientated projects in operation, the secret space program as it is referred to as. Additionally, do the Earth controllers, the Dark Force reptilians, have a technology way beyond anything the human slaves are aware of, that indeed has been present since humanity's genetically engineered conception, and only if it suits the reptilians' controlling agendas will certain of their technologies enter the human experience. The advanced craft that the crew and myself had at our disposal was not in any way Dark Force affiliated, nor was it associated with whatever secret space programs are in effect, and yet there it was. In relative close proximity to the Earth it was circling. Naturally then, it ought to have been detected, but perhaps it boasted mechanisms that prevented its presence from being determined. Not only was the craft advanced and extensive, but served additionally as a kind of ark, that just as it was with the fabled story of Noah and the animals, this vast ship was designed to house large numbers of humans and potentially relocate them to an alternative position if such was deemed necessary. I'm uncertain if the ship already contained humans other than myself and the crew, but this was our primary objective. If we had any other function in the meantime wasn't made apparent, and we were on standby and awaiting the moment where we would disengage from Earth's orbit and transport the secured humans to another location. So either we already had humans aboard, or we would ensure this was the case when the moment of their extraction was required. I have shared on countless previous real-side experiences that the Dark Force controllers desire to bring about apocalyptic-style global occurrences through whatever means are possible, and I have been chronicling the various options over the years. It's not just a case of the controllers desiring an outcome, and it is so. This may be the case for their own personal manifested creational experience, but where it comes to an individual or species wanting to impact others, then this requires agreement on behalf of those that are to be involved in what is then a shared experience. For as all awareness operates through the various body forms in creation, each individualized body type has the built-in mechanics to generate whatever simulated experience is decided upon through the ideas created via the mental and emotional body type faculties, the equivalent of each awareness unit having access to a computer as an analogy, and able to manifest on the screen whatever is so chosen to experience. As we each then are the deciders of what we experience, that everything effected as a simulation is dependent on the ideas being created, consciousness installed and made manifest, that another can impose on our experience, requires their idea creations to be installed in our consciousness. We have to agree with their ideas as the mechanism by which this can be so. The equivalent of being captivated by the websites created by others, clicking on them and having them pop up on our computer screens. Although unlikely would we agree with ideas that are to our detriment, as the Dark Force's overall inclination is control and subjugation of others, and so necessary is it to present ideas that have a surface appeal, but are in fact laced and anchored with additional and unseen ideas in association. That as we agree with the surface idea, we take on the entire package, install it in consciousness, and effected as our experience will be more than we bargained for, but in reality everything we in fact agreed with. The equivalent of clicking on the website that had a surface appeal, but that was tainted with an unrealized virus that now unduly impacts our computer. As an example, the idea of religion is that as created by the Dark Force reptilians, it will be marketed as though beneficial, but in addition with the idea front will be the reality of what religion represents: death and sacrifice. These are ideas that also will be part of the package, and effected then will be their nature for all who agree and adhere to any earth-based religion. Every idea creation is generated through creational mechanics. Each idea then will be in association with a personal self-consciousness, a consciousness that will comprise of a particular idea construct. The idea created and the consciousness of personal self are indivisible. You can't have one without the other. And as we agree with the presented ideas as created by others, we also place agreement and install in our consciousnesses the ideas that are their consciousnesses also. In regards to the dark force controllers, as we agree with their creations, we also inadvertently agree with their consciousness construct, a construct which will include a particular general inclination and intent, as these are consciousness installed ideas also. That as our example goes, not only will we be agreeing with ideas of a death and sacrificial nature as we agree with religion, but we will be taking on the ideas of the dark force reptilian consciousness, the intent to dominate, subjugate, and potentially destroy. And where now this can potentially be our experience in relation to the reptilians, as we harbour the ideas that allow this to be our manifested simulation. We literally have extended permission and afforded the roles that the dark forces can occupy, where we experience a subjugation and a torture at their hands. The reptilians have secured agreement from overall humanity since its first initial moments as a slave species, or how else would they have been able to impact humanity's early experience adversely and genetically alter them? The foundation of control acquiescence established and maintained to this current moment. But as the controllers desire the human experience to become ever more restricting, and indeed for the implementation of depopulation and even a complete genocide of humanity, these are additional ideas that must be accepted, agreed with, installed in human consciousness, that they can be made manifest. Again, the mechanism utilized will be as previously described, the presenting of ideas that have a surface appeal but are laden with ideas of depopulation and affiliated with the reptilian consciousness idea construct of a perpetual and escalating control intentionality. And where we place attention and focus translates as a further means of idea installation, hence the themes as portrayed through the movies and computer games, many of which are along the lines of what the controllers wish to be physical level exacted. And so, within humanity's consciousness will be all manner of ideas that, if effected, will present as various means of apocalyptic style depopulation events. Every idea instantly its effects in reality, but the design of consciousness dictates a gradual rollout from idea cause to effect outcome, just as our movie is complete on the disc, but as we place it in our DVD players, we must gradually process through it from start to a conclusion. Should an alternative idea grasp our attention and overall focus, it is the equivalent of switching the movie before its completion for another, and the new movie begins its gradual rollout to a conclusion. Of all the ideas humanity's overall consciousness comprises of, it is the idea held to in prominence that is rolling out to its effect culmination, the movie currently being played. And as agreement, As the prominently held to ideas tend to fluctuate, essential is it for the controllers to install as many of their various apocalyptic ideas as possible, to ensure a greater chance that one of their ideas will stick and be held to until it becomes a physical level manifest. I have shared on previous real side experiences that there are many contingencies in place should one of the dark force apocalyptic ideas threaten to become physical level exacted and be then humanity's overall situation. Again, these will be idea alternatives that require agreement. Rescue operations can be created, but require agreement that they can be successful. Each human individual is the decider of their experience and all that befalls them. Such rescue efforts have been revealed as taking the form of alien body form interventions, the extracting of humans from the earth should such be necessary, and where agreements allow, via their spacecraft, and where the agreeable humans are relocated to safe havens elsewhere. This real side experience would be another example of this, I would suggest. Vast spacecraft already in place, prepared to rescue humans in the event of cataclysmic global dark force instigated upheavals. At that moment, we would receive indication that an apocalyptic style situation was indeed imminent, and I would issue the command to withdraw from Earth's orbit. Presumably, we had already secured our agreeable human cargo for relocation, although this wasn't affirmed in the experience. The dark force created a cataclysm was very abrupt, almost unexpectedly so, and of a far greater extent of devastation than has been revealed in previous real-side experiences I have shared regarding the various potential variations. For my command to withdraw was accompanied by my also stating that the earth was doomed. It was to be completely destroyed, that nothing of it remain but chunks of debris floating through space. I would never witness the planet's destruction. Our ship would be removed to a safe position, but it was as though something untoward in regards to our operation had occurred. The precise specifics were not extended to my personal self, but necessary was it for the crew and myself to attempt to transfer our awareness into the very computer systems. For we had the technological ability whereby we could remove our awareness from our current human body vehicles and place it within the computers, a temporary measure for whatever was the situation that now demanded it. We had what appearance-wise looked like credit cards, the idea being to scan the cards, and this would represent the final stage of our awareness transference to the ship's computers. But it seemed for this to take place required the equivalent of a computerized handshake with a technology that had been stationed on the Earth. As I said, the Earth's complete destruction had been unexpected, and where everything that was present on the planet, including our technology and ability to transfer our awareness to the computer systems, was now no longer available. Impressions suggested that if we indeed had extracted humans from the Earth, they were in some kind of suspended animation, for whatever was set to impact the crew and myself that required this awareness transference was of a measure that only incorporated ourselves. Perhaps some atmospheric issue or other, or an attack of some kind by the dark force controllers, but one that could only be of threat to those operating within the ship. However, despite our inability to exact our transference, we seemed in no immediate peril, and would continue to drift into space toward some pre-designated target location. But then an invading force would present itself, taking the form of what impressions revealed were demonic entities of a kind. If they were working on behalf of the dark forces at the behest of the reptilians, or simply had chosen this course of action wasn't determined, but their intentions were malign, their objective to destroy the crew and myself. Appearance-wise, they were humanoid to an extent, but hideously malformed and twisted, as though their body forms had been scrambled, and some were as though combinations of multiple human body types amalgamated together. Our body types always reflect our consciousness design, our life choices and deeds. The dark forces in all their expressions will have body forms as twisted as their decided actions, as exemplified here, demonic forms in reflective accord with a very dark and distorted consciousness of destructive inclination. If indeed we harboured human survivors, they again seemed to be safe, as though beyond the ability of the demons to not only access, but be aware of as to their presence. The crew and myself, however, were targeted for eradication. Our transference, although its attempted initiation was for another purpose, may have additionally rendered us safe from the demons. They may have assumed then the ship to be derelict. It wasn't a case of them accessing the ship from space. They simply manifested within its interior and began hunting the crew and myself. As I said, the ship boasted extraordinary technology, and we had all manner of measures that we could implement to cater for every eventuality, and in an effort to render ourselves beyond the demon's reach, we exacted as though a mechanism by which an alternative dimension was now accessible within the ship. This wouldn't incorporate the ship in its entirety, for manifesting throughout its interior would be a curious glowing doors that only the crew and myself could access, the demons unable to pass through them. That as we operated within the ship, as we carried out our essential duties while evading the demons, necessary was it to make use of these doors that featured, that we could avoid a demon zeroing in on our positions. For these doors led to this alternative dimension, that on entry we appeared to be on the same ship, but in reality an alternative dimensional version of it. These demons were nothing but creative and adaptable, however. Their consciousness of a design that effected were twisted body forms, imbued with all manner of ability, what may be referenced as a magical prowess, and where they determined a means by which they could access this dimension, through the doors that, although visible to them, had up until this moment denied them access. For as I was set upon by a female demon, one that seemed an amalgamation of numerous human body forms, her head comprising of an assortment of faces, the various features of which all mashed together into quite the horrific visage, as I retreated through the closest available dimension-affording door, assuming myself then safe from her clutches, she would follow me through it to my surprise, and now proceed to chase me down one of the alternative dimensional ship corridors. She didn't so much run, or indeed walk, as glide, that although she possessed legs, she seemed to levitate across the ground in an alarmingly efficient velocity of motion. As she pursued me, she would constantly be uttering words in rather a delightful voice, considering the distortion of her face, words to the effect that death and killing is a bliss. Maybe according to her, but I wasn't prepared to afford her further bliss with the eradication of myself. The demons had a curious means of eliminating those they laid their twisted hands upon, that threw a touch so their targets would be destroyed, but in such a way that they would simply vanish, with no trace of their former body type remaining. Some of the crew had met this end, and I'm uncertain what would be the outcome of this situation, as there the experience would conclude with the female demon gliding toward me and constantly reiterating how death and killing was a bliss. But in the overall analysis, was there further verification of potential extraction options for humans, assuming agreement is placed where such can be achievable, in the event of global cataclysms which render retention on the earth as unfeasible? In this case and potentiality, was there complete planetary destruction? But this will be but one idea present in human overall consciousness, and ultimately humanity decides as to its experience.